Hello and welcome to Chess with Simon. I'm Simon. I've been going through the games of Peter Wells and Ray Keene, which has been fascinating. And I was just inspired this morning to try out some of the ideas that I've learned from their games. And so I just thought, let's try a 30-minute game and try to employ some of the ideas that they have been playing. Now, of course, my opponent may play different moves, but maybe one can retain the spirit of their play, even if you don't get the exact same positions. And I think certainly the games I've been looking at have been fascinating tactically. But of course, what one has to do is to get into positions where those tactics can be employed. Taking a while to find a game, isn't it? Should we try a different time? Should we try 15 plus 10 maybe? Here we go. Okay. Pawn d4, I have decided. Okay, so Peter played the trump, so I'm going to play the trump. Now, c5 is interesting. After knight e4, I'm going to play h4, which I saw Julian Hodgson play in a tournament, Grand Prix tournament I was in 20, 30 years ago. No idea what happens after that. I mean, I assume if black takes on g5... Oh, come on. This? I mean... Okay, we want excitement today. We want thrills, we want spills. What are we going to do to this to make it exciting? So true to the spirit of the Trumpowski would be to take on f6. Otherwise, black's going to get in e6, and we're going to head for a Queen's Gambit Declined. Maybe that's not such a bad thing. I mean, Queen's Gambit's a good opening, right? I can't take on f6 on the last move. I mean, what do you get for giving up the bishop? I think Queen's Gambit's a good opening. I don't know if this move order gives black any extra possibilities, but I'm not overly worried. I suppose if we play a semi-Slav, I'm committing to lines in which the bishop is on g5, so you can't play a Meron. But it looks like it's not heading there anyway. It looks like it's heading into solid and sensible lines. I suspect c5 is a really good move here. I mean, not equalising, but really good. I mean, if black can, black should try to play c5 in the Queen's Gambit Declined. And here black can. What would I do? So I think c5 is the best move. What would I do? I suppose I'd take on d5. Pawn takes back. And I'm claiming I've got an IQP to work against. So after c5, I think I take on d5. E takes d. Wow, look at this. We're feeling very conventional here, party people. You know, I mean, it'd be hard to argue that knight c3 is wrong. Again, I think c5 is more complicated now because he's castled. He or she, should we see? Rako from Japan, platinum member, really good at puzzles, really can do the tactics. Okay. Should we not let that intimidate us? Should we just play the chess? Okay. Knight f3 can't be wrong. So this is a very conventional Queen's Gambit Declined position. Knight b d7 is definitely possible, as is h6, bishop h4. then, so I would say either knight bd7, in which case I play rook c1, or h6, bishop h4, b6, probably play something like bishop d3 or maybe rook c1 there. Yeah, is c5 possible here? c5 feels less likely here, but I'm not sure it's wrong. Okay, h6. That's not coming as an enormous surprise. It's quite nice to play on a longer time control. You know, all this blitz stuff. I mean, it's fun, but doesn't give you much time to think about the chess, does it? Okay, so I'm expecting b6 here. And when b6 happens, I'm either going to play rook c1 or bishop d3. To be honest, I can't remember which is the right one. I'm not sure it matters. You can take, I think there's a famous Fischer v Spassky game. This isn't quite correct. There's a famous, I mean, it's not, well, it's arguable. Rook c1's a move here. Trying to win the battle of the tempo. What I'm aiming for now, down the line, is an IQP position where I build up an attack. So I'm aiming for something like this. Something like c6, bishop d3, d takes c, bishop takes c4, knight d5, bishop takes e7, queen takes e7, kingside castles, knight takes c3, rook takes c3, e5, bishop b3, takes on d4, takes on d4 with the pawn. Then the idea is that the knight's coming into e5, and for instance, it's very hard to evict because g6 is weak. So I think, well, whoever really knows, I think c6 is next. I mean, b6 could come as well. Against b6, I think then black has a slightly inferior Tartakova, but you know, not in a way that is losing. I suppose I just play bishop d3, b6, bishop d3, takes on c4, takes on c4, knight e4. Oh, no. Bishop b6 first, bishop b6, bishop b7. So b6, bishop d3, takes on c4, takes on c4, bishop b7, short castles. I mean, it has to be short castles. Knight e4, takes on e7, takes on e7, and then something else, I don't know. Bishop d3 maybe. This chap's having a nice long think. He's obviously a really good player. It's not normal to think this hard at this stage, but in a way it's lovely because, you know, he's got the time and it's an interesting position. I think c6 is the most likely. c6 or b6. I don't think c5 is right. Is it? c5. Nah, don't like it. c5, I think I take it with a d pawn. If the bishop takes, then c takes d, I think wins a pawn. If the knight takes, then so c5, d takes c, knight takes on d5. Yeah, I think. Oh, wow, mind blowing. This is mind blowing, party people. A6. So the big idea here is takes on c4, then b5, and then bishop b7 to free. Sorry. Yeah, that's the idea. Takes on c4, b5, and then bishop b7, and then later c5. That's the idea. So, different answers. A4 is possible here, b3 is possible here, and c5 is possible. c5 is the most ambitious. c5 is an ambitious positional clamp. So consequently, we want to do it right. We don't want to play b3. The idea with b3 is you take back on c4 with a pawn. And the idea of a4 is you just prevent b5. But I think, now, what will happen after the positional clamp? What will happen is then black has to break out with, try to break out with e5. But before doing that, has to play c6. I think we're going to do this, guys. So this is a very ambitious positional idea. You know, black could play b6 here, but I don't think that's very good. Because we take it, and then I think white's just going to claim to be a bit better. So after b6, I think the idea is takes on b6, pawn takes on b6, bishop d3, and the game goes on. There's no easy way. The problem is there's no easy way to develop the light square bishop in that line. So the ambitious line, or the, I think, correct line, is pawn c6, bishop d3, e5, d takes e, knight e8, takes on e7, takes on e7, and who knows what's happening. But to play e5 is pretty brave, and this chap, or chapess, doesn't look like somebody who's very steeped in theory, so it's quite brave to play e5, and it might not be something that they want to do. So the hope for white is you can just keep black quiet here. Okay, b6, well, I'm taking that. Take it off, and then bishop d3. I don't worry about the knight taking. I think then a knight e5 is excellent. Just eyeing that sensitive c6 square. So pawn takes, my friend. This is a nice game. I mean, it's not clearly a festival of tactics, but it's interesting, theoretically very interesting. Black's not by any means in a bad situation, but is passive. So black's not losing, but black's passive. I think white has a positional advantage, which white's going to nurse. And black needs to find a way to drum up complications or counterplay or something. I mean, it may be that black's happy with the draw, but even a draw is a way off here. So I think pawn takes is the only move. And after pawn takes, I'm going to play bishop d3. And then I'm going to look to castle. I don't think I'm going to be as simplistic as to play bishop b1, queen d3, knight e5, hoping for knight takes e5, pawn takes e5, knight moves, checkmate on h7, because I think that's a little bit childish. But I'm not categorically ruling that sort of business out. I think, you know, step by step, right? I think the bishop on d3 is really nice. Just sort of preventing knight e4, sort of eyeing h7. I like that this guy is taking his time to move. It gives us time to get to know each other. So after this, I'm going to look at Ray Keene's Catalan that I think it was 1971. Beautiful rook sacrifice. Really, he's played it. Really fascinating game. Very hard to see that you can sacrifice the rook, but completely sound. And I'm going to look at 4 games by Ray over the next few days. It's so nice that he suggested the games. And I sort of think, you know, chess is about community, really. And so interacting with other players and hearing what people... Okay, bishop b7. So the issue, I think... Shall I just castle without thinking about it? The issue with that move is that bishop's a bit dead. I mean, I suppose what it has prepared is knight e4, which is now possible. So after knight e4, I think black ends up with a slight positional disadvantage, but it's not too bad. Okay, so a3. Okay. Because I've been playing quickly, it's very tempting to just start banging out the moves, but it's wrong. So let's just have a think. This is a good player and we should be respectful. a3 feels like a good move. Just preventing b4. And there's no a5 because the pawn hangs. But it might go a3, knight b6, knight e5, knight c4. Then maybe I start to get tempted to play this stuff with bishop b1, queen d3. I mean, it's not that I underestimate my opponent, it's just that one needs a plan. Do I worry about b4? I suppose what black might be doing is fighting for control of the e4 square. So what I could do is play knight d2, although I don't want to. I want that knight to go to e5. I'm going to play a3. I think my opponent will play rook c8, and then I'm really going to be tempted to play bishop b1, only just claiming that it introduces the possibility of queen d3. And I don't think you lose anything. I suppose you don't lose anything by putting it on b1, do you? I mean, you might even, at some point, possibly go to a2. Is there a different plan? I suppose the different plan would revolve around playing e4. Or maybe bishop g3. I think we predicted this, didn't we? How fascinating. So after... Okay, so if I go knight... Okay, if I go knight e5, and then it goes knight c4, which it will, have to either defend b2 or I have to take on c4. Can't play b3 because a3 hangs. So what if I played bishop b1, knight c4, queen c2? It's such caveman chess. Knight e4, takes on e7, takes on e7. It's a bit of a mess, isn't it? Don't like it. Knight e5, knight c4. Queen e2. How about b3? Just stopping it. Oh, the a3 pawn hangs. That's a pity. How about knight e5, knight c4, bishop takes c4, pawn takes c4. I mean d pawn takes. e4. Wow. This is a difficult strategic decision. I think my knight belongs on e5. Alright. I don't really want to give up that light square bishop. There's such a good bishop. Maybe, okay. Well, I'm going to give up the light square bishop or give up the knight. Maybe I take with a knight. Maybe he won't play knight c4. I think he will, though. Maybe I swap the knights. I think the light square bishop's just too good. Then he'll play what? If he plays dc, his bishop's got a beautiful diagonal, but maybe that's just the deal. I've got a pawn majority in the centre in that line. So I suppose I can claim an advantage based on the pawn majority in the centre. And we've both got nice bishops. We've all, in fact, generally everyone's well developed. It's just that I'll have slightly better pawns in the centre. At this point in the game, I start to wonder if time will be a factor, because my opponent's obviously really good at puzzles, so really smart, but taking a long time to move. I mean, maybe that's just, maybe he or she is just someone who likes to live on an increment, and people do that. David Howell, of course, is a great example of that. He can play brilliantly on the increment. Actually, I think it destabilises his opponents more than it destabilises him. Knight c4. Knight takes c4. D takes c4. Bishop b1. Then I don't know. Queen somewhere. Queen c7 perhaps? And I start thinking about e4. I love this time pressure stuff. 2 minutes and 10. I hope it doesn't get decided on time, because actually this is a quality chess game. And, well, we all want to win. We want to see something interesting here. I suppose another good move here would be rook c8. Rook c8. Really sensible. Then you're going to see, after rook c8, we're going to see bishop b1. Not really to do with this caveman plan of the checkmate on h7, but just to say, if the knight moves to c4, I will take it off with the knight, and so the bishop will have to move anyway. So the bishop may as well move. I don't want to take the knight with the bishop. I mean, I suppose another way of thinking would be to say, can I organise b3? What's this? Okay, so this, I mean, it's fine, but I think we take on e7, right? We take on e7. I'm not even going to think about it. I think other moves may lose a piece. Look at that, pre-move. I mean, you'd pre-move that, wouldn't you? Now. Okay. So, black is prepared to accept doubled pawns. Move like knight takes e4 just simply leaves white with a small positional advantage, and then the bishop has to decide where to go. Can the knight get lost, trapped? It looks pretty dangerous actually. But so let's look at this. Knight takes e4, pawn takes e4, bishop b1. No, the knight can't get trapped because after f6, knight g6 is a fork and nothing else, so that's fine. This is just a positional advantage. Alright, let's just accept the positional advantage. Yeah. Okay, now there's bishop b1 and there's bishop e2 here. They're both good. What are the relative merits of the two moves? Well, bishop b1 keeps attacking that pesky pawn. Bishop e2 looks more harmonious and defensive and correct, and also keeps an eye on b5. I suspect bishop e2 is the grown-up move. But I want to play bishop b1 so bad, but I just don't think the bishop has many prospects there. I think bishop e2. Bishop e2 also keeps an eye on c4, as it prevents, well, it's already preventing. Knight c4 is already prevented because it's covered twice, but it'll be covered 3 times. I think bishop e2 is the grown-up move here, but it pains me to play it because I want to play the other move. Should we just play what we want? No, we're not going to play what we want. We're going to play the grown-up move. I'm pretending to be a grown-up. So then I think what's coming is queen d2 and something like queen a5. I mean, this looks to me like it's going to be an endgame. There's no pawn a4 because the knight takes it. I quite like to play a move like that, but it doesn't really work. Black's going to really start getting on with it now because I've seen a few pre-moves in the last few moves. I think Black's aware that time's getting a bit short. So the question is, can anyone get control of that file? And of course no one can. It's just going to swap off the major pieces. So now we start to think ahead to the end game. And we start to say that Black's got a double pawn, which is one weakness, which is probably not enough to win an end game. But with a bit of time, pressure, it may be enough. I think objectively, I don't think White's winning this. But if we take time into account, White maybe. We've got to be careful we don't get the knight trap though. So we have to start planning a route out for the knight. So if it gets desperate, we play f3. But we hope it doesn't get desperate. And we can play h3, and then the knight can, I suppose, run and hide on h2. If you hear the occasional bang, that's my daughter downstairs just closing her bedroom door in definitive style. That's the great thing about, you know, lockdown chess videos. You get the whole family involved. I think she also shouted at the dog a bit ago as well. Okay, well I don't need to worry about that knight getting trapped anymore. Okay, so Black's officially in time trouble, right? But the problem with me is I play too much blitz, so I just play moves. Yeah. So what I believe we're heading for now is a is an endgame where all the major pieces come off and we've got light square bishops and my pawns are mainly will be completely on dark squares, and Black's got a double pawn, although Black may struggle to rid rid him or herself of the double pawn. So I'm not going to play f3. We're just going to get the major pieces are going to come off like this, and so black should probably play a move like, okay. So this I think is an attempt to get the bishops off. So I think the idea here is bishop c4, because black's clever enough to realise that the position favours me with light square bishops on. So this, oh, how about rook c3 here? Rook c3 is nice. And then if bishop c4, I play queen c1, pinning the bishop against the rook. Yeah, that's nice. Rook c3, and then if takes, I just take back with the queen. Yeah, rook c3. I mean, what's the worst that can happen, right? Okay, what do I expect? If I was playing black, what would I try for here? Actually, after bishop c4, even taking on c4 is pretty nice, because you just end up fragmenting those pawns. What am I expecting here? I'm expecting rook c6. Yes! That was sweet! Come on then. This. And then, like, takes on c3, right? Or maybe put the queen behind it. If you put the queen behind it, I take off all the major pieces. If you take on... So I think black will put the queen behind it. And then all the major pieces come off. Got to take with the queen. Yeah. Now... white has a slightly nicer endgame. And those words, those are great words. So I want to play b4 here and just keep all of black's pawns on light squares. Then I've got to find a way for my king to invade. Maybe going to b3 and aiming for a4. So where's my king going to invade? Okay, so quickly we look at f3. Pawn takes, bishop takes, bishop takes, pawn takes. I think that pawn ending might be a bit better for black. I mean, I think we have to entertain the possibility that this is a draw, this game. What do we want? We want to sort of park a king on d4, really. Should we see if we can arrange that? So I think the king has to come to the centre. Well, in the endgame, the king should come to the centre, and we want to park a king on d4. King e7 from black. Yeah, we're going to aim to put this king on d4. It's not going to be easy. But we're going to play bishop d1 and bluff. Not even bluff. After king d5, we're going to play... Okay. Right. So, if black plays pawn e5, we're going to just not take. We're going to let black take on d4, and then the king is on the ideal square. The point is that we're going to try and pick up the e4 pawn, although of course white has f5. Okay. I don't like this. I think it creates weaknesses. I mean, they may not be fatal. Okay. So I'd like to play a4. So should we play bishop d1 and hint at a4? The idea, I think, well, I know what the idea is. The idea is to start to try to get at those weak queenside pawns on the light squares. King here. Wow. So the question now is it a5 or do we take? And we start to think about what the pawn endings look like, because we can start to play bishop b3 and force the bishops off. What would the pawn ending, it's mind-boggling, isn't it? What would the pawn ending look like? So a5, and then if you give white two moves, a5, bishop b3. The problem is there aren't really any entry points for the... Bishop c2? How about pawn at f3? Wow! Pawn f3. That's a prospect to conjure with, isn't it? Pawn f3. So, takes on a4, takes on e4, check, wins the bishop. Pawn takes pawn, bishop f3, check, king moves. Bishop b7. I think this is a good move, f3. I think it's a really good move. Okay, well, let's not think for too long, because he's not got too long, let's be fair. Pawn f3. So, I think f5 is what will happen. Wow. The mind boggles, actually. It actually boggles. Okay, let's not give anything away. So, I like this. It's chaotic, but I don't think black can take. I think black's got to play f5 here, yeah. That's good, though. That's good. And then here's what we're going to do. We're going to check. What if the bishop goes in the way, though? Wowee. Okay. Bishop b3 check. If the king moves, we take on e4 and we're golden. If the bishop goes in the way, we take with check, we double the pawns. Oh, I think we're going to get a zugzwang there. I think we're good. I think we take. So after this check, if the bishop goes in the way, we take it, the pawn takes, and then we push f4. And I think that's going to be, I think, okay, wow. Okay, so now I think what's happening is that white is building a positional advantage. We've got to take, haven't we? Just take. Just take and build up that pressure. Now what? So white's quite a lot better here. I think I want to push a5. Just push a5. Because I think I want to keep the pawns on, and I want to threaten to take that pawn on a6 later on with the bishop. See, all my pawns are on dark squares. It's gorgeous. So taking on a6 is going to become a proper threat down the line. I think black may play pawn e5 here, and then I'll probably take rather than pushing. Although if you push, you get that nice square look. You get the d4 square. In fact, you may even push now. Isn't that crazy? If you push d5, if the pawn takes, you play king d4, and then he'll play bishop c4 and win. So that's no good. So we want to get our bishop to taking off the pawn on a6, right? So let's start that journey. Every journey starts with the first step. Every 1,000-mile journey starts. Maybe should we hit his bishop? It sort of almost doesn't matter exactly what we play here. Could we abide a swap of bishops here? What does a swap of bishops look like? I actually don't even know what a swap of bishops looks like. Would we want a swap of bishops? I think I'm going to play h4 at some point. Okay. The black king is locked out. What about bishop c4 here? Eek. I take it, is what happens. I think I take it. I do not believe that black can hold that pawn. So I think what I do here is I take it and then I play pawn g4, and black will arrive in zugzwang. Come on then. Do what you believe. Hang on. Takes, takes, king c6, king d2, king b5, king c3. Wow, I'm low on time too now, eh? Oh, come on. How wrong can this go? So if I play g4 here, g4, c6, d2, b4, c3, bye-bye Yellow Brick Road. I think this is over. Pretty game. Might try e5 here. No, didn't. King b5, king c3, and then black has a problem. It's getting tight on the time, my friend. So I haven't captured the fascinating tactical spirit of Ray Keene and Peter Wells. I have instead played a positional grind. But you know, to an extent, you play the position that you're offered, right? Thank you, Racco. That was a really good game. Should we look at the computer analysis? Let's see what we got. I mean, it was very instructive positionally. Nice comeback win. What? That's not how it felt to me. Okay, after this we'll look at one of Ray's games. Oh, look, there was a bad moment for me. -4. Let's look at the bad moment. Da 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 da. Look, it all trucks along. I think it's all quite technical. In fact, there's two dodgy moments. There's a dodgy moment here. This was dodgy. So, of course, if you take the pawn. Oh, I see. So takes on a4. If I take on e4, we check, the king takes, and the e3 pawn is hanging. If I take with the bishop, then the other pawn is hanging. Terrible mistake. But I made a real howler over here. This is wrong. The whole centerpiece is wrong. But this was wrong. Should have pushed the pawn. Every day's a school day. Wow. Okay, so let's look at this. Should have pushed the pawn. And the point is, then he captures on b4. You know, this is the moment for a bit of humility and just to say, wow, chess is a hard game. King c2, king c4. And that looks like it's won for black. Okay, well done, computer. You really are good at chess. Well done to my opponent. You're also good at chess. I hope everyone enjoyed that. I hope everyone's well. If you enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you want to see more of me playing chess, hit subscribe and the notification bell. And I'll go away and work on my pawn endgames. In fact, I need to post another endgame video. I did one, but I need to do more in the future. Okay, keep well, everyone. Bye-bye.